Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Hi, everybody. Oh, boy. I look like I just rolled out the bed, which I kind of sort of did. There we go. Hi, everybody. Happy MLK Day. I am so happy to see you the day after the Critics Choice Awards. If this is your first time joining me, my name is Carla Renata, and I am the Curvy Film Critic. And what we do here is we do reviews, we do interviews, and sometimes I talk to people above and below the line in the film industry. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you are here. Click that bell for notifications and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook Live, same applies to you. Hey, and I think I've spoken to you since the new year, but if I haven't, Happy New Year again. Anywho, baby, it has been a jam-packed week, but let's honor my man, Dr. Martin Luther King. I said in the promo for the show that his name was not originally Martin. It actually was Michael. His father renamed him and himself, renamed Dr. King and himself because of his love for a Lutheran personality named Martin Luther. Let me read you exactly what it says so that I'm not paraphrasing, because I hate when I do that. So his birth name was not Michael, it was Martin. He was born Michael King Jr. His father became inspired by the Protestant Reformation leader Martin Luther, and as a result, Martin Luther King Sr. changed his own name as well as that of his 5-year-old son. So, as far as Martin knew, his name was Michael. We honor him on this day to honor his life and his legacy in the civil rights movement. But more importantly, he fought for equality for all people, Black, brown, whatever. And he was hopeful that one day in his speech, I Have a Dream, that he would see all of us coexisting together. We're barely doing it, but we're doing it. So rest in peace, Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm sending much love and light to his remaining children that are here on this earth. And I just wanted to start out the show acknowledging him. Because of him, I'm able to do this and navigate in the rooms like I did last evening. Speaking of which, I always start out the show talking about what I did the week before. So the week before was crazy, but let me tell you what we got coming up. I did an interview with Tracy Heather Strain, who is the director of this lovely PBS doc, which is going to be coming on PBS in a couple of days, called Zora Neale Hurston, Claiming a Space. It will stream simultaneously with broadcast on all stations branded PBS platforms, including pbs.org and the PBS app which is available on iOS, which would be an iPhone, Android, Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Samsung Smart TV, Chromecast, and Vizio. It will also be available for streaming with closed captioning in English and in Spanish. So I have a really nice in-depth interview with Tracy Heather Strain. I'll get into that in a second. I also wanted to give big congratulations to my girl Sujata Day. I met Sujata when I interviewed her for her film Definition Please, which has a silent producer of my friend Yvette Nicole Brown. So congratulations to those two ladies, because their film Definition Please has been nominated, Sujata has been nominated for Outstanding Directing in a Television Movie, a special by the NAACP Image Awards, which will be having their 54th ceremony. Last weekend, before the Critics' Choice, we celebrated the Golden Globes. And baby, Miss Cheryl Lee Ralph was in rare form, as she usually is, and she won one. But that is her Critics' Choice Award. So let me go to Miss Angela and Miss Jennifer, because they were double winners. Miss Angela won the Critics' Choice last night. Miss Angela won the Golden Globe last week in the category of Best Supporting Actress in a Movie. And Miss Jennifer Coolidge won for The White Lotus. And I loved what she said. She says, for all of those people at home who think about giving up, want to give up, think that there's nothing left for them to give to the industry, it is not over until you are dead. I hollered when she said that, but she's so true. My boy Austin Butler won a Golden Globe for his portrayal in Elvis, and unfortunately, less than a few hours later, Lisa Marie Presley, who is the only child of Elvis Presley, had a heart attack and passed away. But she was at the Golden Globe ceremony. He was able to thank her then. And yeah, those were the big winners, or some of the big winners of the night. You can go to the Golden Globes website for the full list of winners. And then I want to talk about the Critics' Choice, which was hosted by Chelsea Handler, who was freaking hilarious. Hilarious. One of the awards that went out were for, it's called a See Her Award. They gave that to Janelle Monáe, who was starring in the Rian Johnson film Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, currently streaming on Netflix. Again, one of the other big winners of the night was Miss Cheryl Lee Ralph, who said this. And I was so excited to quote her on this particular adage, because you know what? People in show business, we go through so much, and we endure so much, and there's so much uh, jealousy and competition. And Miss Cheryl Lee said, people, let me come on camera for this, because I need to have y'all see my face when I say this. Miss Cheryl Lee said, people don't have to like you. People don't have to love you. They don't even have to respect you. But when you look in the mirror, you better like what you see. Quoted by Shirley Ralph, a double week winner with a Golden Globe and a Critics' Choice Award for her role on Abbott Elementary. And the whole cast of Abbott Elementary won, and they were on stage looking gorgeous and beautiful as usual. And then we had, I called it the night of the OGs, because Kiwi Kwan won, RRR won, but Kiwi Kwan at the Golden Globes last week talked about how this has been a 40-year-old journey for him. He started in Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, with Harrison Ford, being directed by Steven Spielberg. And 40 years later, here he is winning awards for his fantabulous role in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which is this year's award season darling. Another OG who won was Giancarlo Esposito. Baby, he has been around. I remember the first time I ever saw him was in Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. And people are just now getting on the Giancarlo Esposito train, but I've been there for a minute. Then, courtesy of my friend Marshall Weinbaum, who's in the publicity department at Disney, that's us last night at Critics' Choice. He and I, we took that lovely picture. I ended up sitting with two winners from the evening, Miss Angela Bassett and Miss Ruthie Carter, who won for costume design. And of course, we've already discussed what Miss Bassett won for. And then one of my friends, I love her, she caught me on camera just giggling and doing my thing in the room, and look at Courtney taking a selfie or video on his wife, whatever he was doing. And then, of course, I had to grab the ladies of Wakanda and give them some love, because, you know, I don't know if they'll ever be at that table again, the four of them just kind of hanging out and doing their thing. And right behind them is Marsha Gay Harden. The table in front of her was the Everything, Everywhere, All at Once table. Over to the left, I don't know what table that was over there, but over to our right was like Julia Roberts and James Cameron and the Elvis table. It was fabulous. We were fairly close up in the front. And then I ran into this lovely young man, Paul Walter Hauser, who won for his role on Blackbird. I met him a long time ago on the red carpet for Black Klansman, and he totally remembered me, and we grabbed this picture together. Again, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is winning Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and RRR is sweeping up awards season, and they're becoming an awards season darling with their musical extravaganza. I just want to say it's so nice to see people of color kind of dominating the award season. I'm very, very excited about it. And then here's another OG, Kate Blanchett won for her role in Tar. So we already know going into the Oscars as it moves forward, the race is going to be between Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh, who won the week before for Everything Everywhere All at Once at the Golden Globes. And then in addition to all of that, I ran into these lovely young ladies, Miss Janelle James and Miss Amber Ruffin. Amber Ruffin was nominated for her show, The Amber Ruffin Show. And of course, Janelle James was nominated for Abbott Elementary. The AFCA Awards have announced what their winners are, which include The Woman King, The Inspection, Till, Causeway. What else is listed on here? Wendell and Wild, Nanny, Saint Omer, and so many, and Emancipation. All of those films are being honored, and the ceremony there will be March 1st at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. So stay tuned, because I do believe there'll be some place where you can watch that as well. So I think I have gone through all of the awards things that are happening. Let me tell you about this. Let me go back. Let me tell you about Miss Zora Neale Hurston and this film Zora. So Tracy Heather Strain, I talked to a long time ago. She did a documentary about Lorraine Hansberry called I'll get back to the title because I don't want to misquote it, but it was a documentary on Lorraine Hansberry. And I found it very interesting that she navigates and is drawn toward these stories for these creative women. So we sat down for a good 30 minutes and talked about it. But I have a 10-minute excerpt from that interview, and I really want you guys to see it, because after that, I'm going to get into some reviews of Missing. I'll get into a review of The Sun, and then I'm going to go into what I'm looking forward to seeing at Sundance, because Sundance kicks off this week on January 19th, and it goes through the 29th, but I'll only be there from the 19th until the 23rd, and we'll catch some screening things in the process. So I'll do this show today where I'll talk about everything I plan on seeing. And then, of course, as y'all know, over the years that have watched me, you know that always changes as time goes by. So having said that, take a look and a listen to this interview with the director of the PBS doc, Zora Neale Hurston. Did I say Zora Neale Hurston? Zora Neale Hurston. And her name is Tracy Heather Strain. Here we go.
Sure. Zora Neale Hurston, claiming a space on American Experience.
I also found it very interesting that when she wrote Their Eyes Were Watching God, that her peers, Alan Locke and Langston Hughes, came out against her and said some horrible things about that book when it was published, as well as some other authors and critics as well. And I just find it very interesting and wanted to get your thoughts about it. Why do you think that in our society in particular, we're in some instances, we're very quick to tear each other down as opposed to building each other up? Like they were in a place in history where there's a way you say things. They could have expressed their opinion without being so overtly negative, but they chose to be overtly negative, which ultimately affected that piece at the time. But then it went on to become, one of her most lauded pieces. It became a motion picture starring Halle Berry at some point. I just wanted to get your thoughts about how you feel about us as a culture doing that to each other.
Richard Wright was completely disrespectful of Zora Neale Hurston's work, Their Eyes Were Watching God. He basically said it had no thought. She wrote a book and that it had no thought, no message.
Yeah, I was particularly offended by the fact that he said it contained minstrel techniques that make white people laugh. I was like, oh, that's really harsh.
Yeah, he was very harsh. I think the critique also speaks of sexism. The story centering a Black woman, and it's a story that centers her thinking and her thoughts. Richard Wright has never been a Black woman, so how, in many ways,
That part.
why should Richard Wright or Elaine Locke be like given their 50 cents on this particular book at that time? But we understand why they were, why they were asked to do it, or why they elected to do it. I think that their personal feelings about Zora Neale Hurston interfered with that as well. But as we talk about in the documentary, it is a political book. It's a book that it provides a gender analysis, a racial analysis. It's not overt. Richard Wright was more about hitting it on the head, right? So he had a different style, different approach. And the approach that was going to, that was coming into fashion was going to suit him and his writings more than what the kind of writing that she was doing was, as they say, no longer in vogue. In general, Black people were becoming less in vogue overall. But Wright's work and some other people's work is more hit it on the head, political, and we need that, and we need space for things that are the critique is more subtle. I feel in general like the pie in many places should be expanded, and I say that with documentaries as well. There should be space for all types of documentaries, expository mode, poetic, the range, observational. Let's not say one kind of way of presenting story and information is more important than other, because the world is made up of all different the world is made up of audience members who have all different ways of wanting to engage with information.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to bring that up because I was like, ooh, that was harsh. I was flabbergasted when you put that into the doc. I was like, oh my God. Like,
right.
I
wanted to really reinforce it because I didn't just put it, we just don't see the page.
It wasn't for shock value. It was to make a point. I got it.
But it was a little bit, I wanted people to feel a little shocked. I mean, and that's why it was like lifted off the page, like no thought. I mean, that is just.
It was it was disrespectful. It was very disrespectful. But let me tell you some things.
But a lot of people, I was just going to, can I just say one other thing?
Yeah, of course.
I feel like Zora Neale Hurston was disrespected at a lot of points in her life. And she was someone who remembered those things, but also learned to move forward without getting stuck. She didn't go, woe is me, and crawl up in a ball. Oh, they wrote these things. She was like, she wanted to have her toenails debate Elaine Locke about what he knew about literature. She was very angry, and she moved on, right? She continued she wrote her autobiography. I mean, we're starting to get to the point in the story when this happens, is things are not going to go as well for her as they had been. But again, she didn't roll up in a ball and stop writing. She didn't let them stop her from trying to raise money to collect folklore.
No, absolutely not. She sounded like she was a tough cookie, and that no was not in her vocabulary, so to speak, which I really admired that. I also admired the fact that you put the "Oh Howard, We Love Thee" song. Like, I've heard that song in the background because that's the song that when you change classes at Howard University, that song is playing in chimes as you're walking across the campus, going from class to class on the hour. It's only on the hour.
Oh, wow.
But
right. Like, actually, I was doing research there. Now I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds familiar. I'm like, oh, that's the song that they would play as we were going across campus. I was cracking up. And they would always play it at that time. And they would always play it, during Founders Day and any special days like that, where they would have assemblies and whatnot in the auditorium. But I was like, you better honor Howard University. Thank you, Tracy Heather Strain. That was the bomb. I love that. And
I'm so glad. My parents met at Howard, so my sister and I actually did the research at Howard that is in the film, which included her document where she signed with Charlotte Osgood Mason, and we grew up hearing about stories about Howard. My parents were there in the 50s, like I said,
wow. They must have some real
And
fun stories.
yeah, and so yeah, stories about how they would pretend they were African to get into movie theaters and not have to sit up in the balcony, and just a range of things.
Oh,
And
that's
I actually did research.
hilarious.
Lorraine Hansberry's older sister, or her only sister, went there as well. So I enjoyed researching and looking at all these faces and figures. And so Zora Neale Hurston, the most important part of this is not so much that my parents went there, but Zora Neale Hurston herself was so excited to have been accepted to Howard. She didn't think she was worthy of the place. And so she really wanted to do good there. And she did, right?
The last thing I want to talk to you about is Zora has this quote where she says, "Go hard or go home." How do you make that applicable to you, Miss Tracy Heather Strain?
Filmmaking's hard, and to get this one was complicated, and there's so many things that could have been in here, and to try to figure it out. And sometimes you you know you want to be able to convey how sincere and earnest you are and how much care you're going to take with things. And sometimes you encounter people that make it challenging for you to get to access their material. It's a hard process, right? And because something like this, you have to go to so many different sources, a lot of private sources and things. And you have to, now that we work in high definition, you have to get files big so they look good on the screen, and there's a lot going on. And so we had to dig in. And so go hard or go home was our motto for this year. I have to say, this year, 2023, I'm having a new motto, and it's more about resting.
Just to close it out, what is the one thing that you want people to take away about Zora Neale Hurston when they watch this documentary?
It's important to recognize our American heroes. And she's an American hero. She's an American figure. Yes, she represents the African American community, but I want people to start recognizing a broad range of people as important to the American story.
That was very well said. She is absolutely an American hero in American literature. Absolutely. Tracy Heather Strain, thank you so much for giving me a slice of your time today. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We always have such full, well-rounded, insightful discussions, and this one was no different. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to her now. I had spoken to her a little while ago about a Lorraine Hansberry doc, and I think what I'll do is I'll repost that interview because she was very enlightening with that particular documentary as well. But I also wanted to point out that Zora Neale Hurston decided to the name of the Lorraine Hansberry doc, just so you guys want to know. And she won the NAACP award for this. It was called Sighted Eyes, Feeling Heart. And the thing that I found interesting about this particular doc, Zora Neale Hurston, is that she approached studying Black people from an anthropology point of view, how it started in terms of like Jim Crow and segregation, and she put it in categories of like savage, barbarian, and civilized. That the same way that people were categorizing Black people at that time, to understand how anthropology tied into that. I found that fascinating. And she was kind of ahead of her time, I really thought. So, check it out. Again, let me put the poster back up so that you guys can see her. Put the poster back up. So again, on PBS this week, tomorrow actually, Zora Neale Hurston, Claiming a Space, telling the story of Black America as only she could. All right, so check that documentary out, you guys. I also want you to check out this film. It's called The Sun, and it stars Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern, and Vanessa Kirby. This is a deep little film because it deals with a family that has this son who's in this picture with Laura and Hugh. They have this son who is suffering from acute depression. I mean, acute depression. And he just cannot, for the life of him, seem to get above it. When he finally does begin to express to his parents that he's having problems with life and living, they let their love blind them over the need for his mental stability. And part of his mental stability stems from his new marriage with Vanessa Kirby. And this picture, he's having an extremely hard time getting over the fact that his father has remarried, has a new wife, new baby, and he feels like he has been left behind, and his mental capacity just absolutely cannot take it. It is a heartbreaking story. It starts out a little slow for me, y'all. It's just a little bit slow. It's a Sony Pictures joint. Again, it's going to come on January 17th, which is tomorrow. And it's directed and written by Florian Zeller. And the premise of it is this, other than what I just told you. Peter's life is super, super busy with his new partner, Beth, played by Vanessa Kirby, and their baby. This is thrown into disarray when his ex-wife, Kate, played by Laura Dern, turns up with their teenage son, Nicholas, and baby, the stuff hits the fan. Even though the film is a little slow, it does make an excellent point about the mental health of young people. Young people nowadays have so much to deal with. I wouldn't want to be a young person in this society for anything. They're dealing with body image drama, wanting to get liposuction and butt injections and lip injections. And some of them even want to get Botox and Restylane in their face. It's like your face hasn't finished forming. Leave your body hasn't finished forming. Leave your body alone. But, to each his own. And they have to deal with, the pressures of social media, the pressure of trying to fit. It's a lot of pressure coming from technology. Just remember how you were when you were a kid, just the pressures that we had just being a kid in school, and then compound that with all of the stuff that these kids are dealing with now. It's a lot. They struggle with not being enough. They struggle with, the pressure. In Nicholas's case, struggles with the pressure of his parents getting divorced, probably blaming himself for that, taking on all of that, and it doesn't have anything to do with him. But for some reason, his mental capacity just cannot. He can't process it, and his parents, their love for him blinds them to the fact that he really, really needs help that they can't give him. They can love him within an inch of his life, but it's not going to give him the help that he needs. I'm also hoping that this is a film that may take another look at the medical community and reevaluate how they handle these types of cases, because right now, if you are under 18 and your parents make the decision to sign you out of a mental facility, they can take you home. I think that each case needs to be evaluated individually when someone is underage, because kids are manipulative. Each one of us were a kid, and each one of us had things that we manipulated our parents about. So I'm hoping that it sheds a light on that particular thing, and that the medical community will reevaluate it. Again, it's a Sony Pictures joint, and it drops tomorrow. Another film that I saw, I went to the premiere for this with my mother because my mother was particularly interested in seeing it. It's a film called Missing, and it starred Storm Reed and Nia Long, and it was down at the Draft House here in LA, and the hashtag is Missing Movie. But this particular movie is about this young woman. Hold on, let me go back up to the top so I can talk to you. This particular film is another Sony Pictures joint. It will be released on the 20th of January, which I believe is this Friday. And it's directed by first-time filmmakers Nicholas Johnson and Will Merrick. I'm going to talk about them in a minute. And it stars Storm Reed and Nia Long. When Storm's mother disappears while on vacation in Colombia, her new boyfriend, June, who's played by Storm Reed, searches for answers and is hindered by international red tape. Stuck thousands of miles away in LA, June creatively uses all of the latest technology at her fingertips to try and find her mother before it's too late. However, the further she digs with her digital sleuthing, she soon raises more questions than answers. Baby, when I tell you this film had me on the edge of my seat, this is done or produced by the same people who produced Searching a little while ago, about a dad who was trying to find his daughter who was missing. Now, that same producer is bringing us a film called Missing, dealing with a mother who's missing and the child trying to find the mom. It had me on the edge of my seat, and it was so fascinating how they filmed this young girl using her laptop and her social media and just the internet to find her mother. But it also was a little creepy, because if she could do all of that in a movie to try to find somebody, somebody could do that in real life trying to find you. So I was like, I don't know. But but I loved this movie. It had me on the edge of my seat. Storm Reed and Nia Long are shredding it on the acting tip. Y'all, they are no joke. We know that these two women are no joke, but they are letting us have it in this movie. And I really, really hope it does well. And I really, really hope that people get out and see it, because the performances alone are just enough to make you, stay riveted to the film. When I was at the premiere, Nicholas and Will were very emotionally heartfelt that Nia Long agreed to be in a movie that they wrote. Their parents were there. And Nia said this. She talked about being an OG in the business for more than 20 years and being really set with her bag of tricks that all actors have, that they come to a set with, that they do, that they know is going to help them navigate whatever it is they need to navigate. And she said these two directors took her out of her comfort zone and made her think for a minute. And she thanked them and appreciated them for getting her out of her habits. So y'all got to check it out just for that. Again, these two films, The Sun, which is dropping tomorrow with Hugh Jackman, Vanessa Kirby, and Laura Dern, and Missing, which is dropping on January 20th with Nia Long and Storm Reed. All right, so now let's get into Sundance, honey. Let's get into these Sundance movies. All right, so the first film I'm going to check out at Sundance, I do believe is, let me find it. Is it in here? Did I put it in here? I hope. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. So the first one I'm going to see is a Little Richard documentary. I'm so excited about this one, y'all, because it is being directed. It's called Little Richard, I Am Everything, and it's directed by Lisa Cortez. If that name sounds familiar to you, Lisa Cortez directed All in the Fight for Democracy, a documentary that came out by Prime Video, I believe, a little while ago, that centered around Stacey Abrams. And it won the Grand Jury Prize when it was at Sundance last time. But this documentary is a celebration of Little Richard, and it reveals the Black queer origins of rock and roll, finally exploding the whitewashed canon of American pop music through archival and performance footage. The revolutionary icon's life unspools with all of his switchbacks and contradictions. Baby, if Little Richard was alive today, he would love that. You know, he loved himself some attention. So again, the first thing I'm seeing opening night at Sundance is Little Richard, I Am Everything, directed by Lisa Cortez. I'm going to swing by this concert, which is the Indigo Girls are doing a concert. I was invited to that by the director of that documentary. I was also invited to this film called Sometimes I Think About Dying. Let me find the picture for that. And while I'm finding the picture for her, I will talk about her just a little bit. So this is the picture from Sometimes I Think About Dying. It's directed by Richard Lambert. And it's a film that this character, Fran, she likes to think about dying. It brings sensation to her quiet life. And when she meets this new guy at work, it leads to a date, a slice of pie, a conversation, and a spark. The only thing standing in the way is Fran herself. I am so excited to see that movie. I cannot even tell you, because it just sounds like it's a deep one, and it sounds like something that I would really kind of get into and appreciate. This next film, and don't be alarmed by the picture, Magazine Dreams, baby. Yes, that is Jonathan Majors. Look at that body. Oh, he's so fine. Anywho, this is directed by Elijah Bynum, and it was a film. Magazine Dreams was on the blacklist, and now it is making its debut at Sundance. It's about an amateur bodybuilder who struggles to find human connection as his relentless drive for recognition pushes him to the brink. Cannot wait to see that one. I really, really can't. The next one that I'm going to see is, let me see if I can find a picture for it. It's a film called Earth Mama. And Earth Mama is directed by Savannah Leaf, and it's about this pregnant single mother with two in foster care who embraces her Bay Area community as she fights to reclaim her family. I know a lot of these films that I'm seeing that they're really deep and they're really dark, but this is the thing. I always like to support female filmmakers and filmmakers of color. So that is why I am embracing these particular films for those reasons. I'm also seeing a film called Theater Camp, which looks like it might be a lot of fun. I don't have a picture of that one, I don't think. There's a film I'm going to see called Piano Forte. Piano Forte, let me see if I can find my description of Piano Forte. Piano Forte is directed by Jacques Piatek, and it's a documentary, and it's about these young pianists who take part in the legendary International Chopin Piano Competition, a unique chance of a lifetime portrayed from backstage and set to Chopin's music. I'm so excited for that one. Really excited for that one. Then there's this other film, it's called Girl. Looking forward to seeing this one. Girl is directed by Akira Onashile. It's an 11-year-old named Ama and her mother Grace take solace in the gentle but isolated world they obsessively create. Ama's growing up threatens the boundaries of their tenderness and forces Grace to reckon with it. That sounds deep, but I'm all about it. I'm also going to see this one called Stroll. Stroll is directed by Kristen Lovell and Zachary Drucker. It's the history of New York's meat packing district, told from the perspective of transgender sex workers who lived and worked there. Kristen, who walked the stroll for a decade, reunites her community to recount the violence, policing, homelessness, and gentrification that they overcome to build a movement for transgender rights. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one, just because we're in a time right now where this is such a topic that is constantly being spoken of. And it's just something that needs to be addressed. I'm also going to see this film called, let me find it, there it is, All Dirt Roads Tastes of Salt. It's directed by Raven Jackson and is dealing with it's a documentary of a decade spanning exploration of a woman's life in Mississippi and an ode to generations of people, places, and inevitable moments that shape us. It looks so good. There's also this movie called Eileen that looks like it's a lot of fun. It's directed by William Oldroyd. And if that name sounds familiar, William did the film Lady Macbeth in 2016, which was at Sundance, that starred Florence Pugh. This film is set in a bitter 1964 Massachusetts winter, and young Secretary Eileen becomes enchanted by the glamorous new counselor at the prison where she works. Their budding friendship takes a twisted turn when Rebecca reveals a dark secret, throwing Eileen into a sinister path. This is based on the book by Otessa Moshfos, and it was an award-winning novel. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. And then I'm just going to come on camera to talk about the other ones because I don't think I have photos for those. So I know there's a lot of films and I'm talking for a really long time, and hopefully I'll be off the camera soon. But there we go. What's going on there? Yeah, there. Move that up. So I talked about, then there's this other one. It's called 1001. This is one that everybody's trying to see. It's directed by A.V. Rockwell, and it's convinced it's one last necessary crime on path to redemption. Unapologetic and free-spirited Inez kidnaps 6-year-old Terry from the foster care system, holding on to their secret and each other. Mother and son set out to reclaim their sense of home, identity, and stability in New York. And then there's two other ones. I'm going to do an interview for the film Young, Wild, and Free for Cherry Pick, so be on the lookout for that on their outlet. I'm also going to check out this film called To Live and Die and Live by Quasim Basin. Now, one of the first years I went to Sundance, he was there with a film called A Boy, a Girl, and a Dream with Omari Hardwick and Megan Good. So now he's back with this film that deals with Muhammad, who returns home to Detroit to bury his stepfather and is thrust into settling his accounts. But Muhammad's struggles with depression and addiction may finish him off before he finishes the task. So I think that pretty much covers all of the films that I'm going to see. I think I told you about Theater Camp. And if Molly Gordon's name sounds familiar to you, Molly Gordon is also starring in Netflix's You People opposite Eddie Murphy. And this film, Theater Camp, is when a beloved theater founder of a rundown theater camp in upstate New York falls into a coma. The eccentric staff has the band together with the founder's crypto bro son to help keep the camp afloat. I don't know what that means, but I'm down for all of it. So again, you guys, the Sundance Film Festival goes from January 19th through the 29th. You can watch it online. You can get tickets to watch it online. You don't have to be a film critic. You don't have to take a flight to Park City, Utah to see films at Sundance. You can go to sundance.org and you can buy tickets a la carte for $20 a pop and watch movies just like we watch them at the festival. So check it out. And hopefully I'll see y'all on the Hill. I'm also going to be reporting and doing some stuff at the Macro House and for the Black House and for the Cherry Picks. So that is it. And so, yeah. So next week, I will do a Sundance recap of what I actually did see and how I felt about it. It'll be very short and to the point. I'll give you a review of You People from Netflix because I'm going to the premiere of that tomorrow. I'll give you a review of Close, and I'll give you a review of Shotgun Wedding, and it will all be done from Park City, Utah, during the Sundance Film Festival. I will give you the time, the exact time and which day, because I'm not sure. Depending, it'll either be Sunday or Monday, depending on flights and screenings and if I have time to shoot, that kind of thing. So thank you so much for hanging in there and joining me for this brand new episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Again, if this is your first time joining me, please give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you were here. Brandon always stops by and he talks to me. And this time he told me that he can't wait for his second semester of animation classes on the 17th, which is tomorrow. And by the way, I did a bunny hop animation with my two main characters of my webcomic characters. And we give him some snaps and claps and much congratulations on his journey to creating a animated project. So that was a lot, y'all. Anywho, make sure you check out the documentary Zora Neale Hurston on PBS starting tomorrow. I gave you all the information at the top, and you can go to pbs.org for more information on that. I gave you the recap of the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice, and I told you what I'm looking forward to seeing at the Sundance. So until the next time, when I'm reporting from Park City, Utah on the mountain, love, peace, and hair grease. Stay safe. Stay sane. Keep washing them hands, honey, because people nasty out in these streets. I'm just saying, I see people coming out of the bathroom, they ain't washing their hands. They got their fingers in their nose. There's a lot going on. But anyway, I'll see y'all next time. Love, peace, and hair grease, and deuces.